A very good morning,
Varun.
everybody. A very good morning to everybody. I welcome you all to this one-day national level webinar on socio-economic impact of COVID-19, organized by the department. Now it's time for inaugural speech by our respected Sir Professor Joydev Sarkar. It is needless for all of us to give any introduction about ourselves. Professor Joydev Sarkar, former Professor of Commerce, the University of Bardwan, and Honorable President, Indian Accounting Association, South Bengal branch. Most of us, including myself, have read his books and also still studying his books. He is one of the eminent figures in the world of economics and a living legend. Now, sir, kindly deliver your inaugural speech, sir. Professor
Thank you
Joydev
very
Sarkar,
much.
sir.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Good morning to all of you. Respected Principal, sir. Respected President of the governing body,
But why
Dr.
actually
Arindam Gupta,
your video is not on?
Professor of Commerce,
Video is not on.
Professor of Commerce, Vidyasagar University, Dr. Dipti Kumar Chakravorty, Professor of Commerce, Calcutta University, convener and joint conveners and members of the organizing committee, dear participants in the webinar. I am happy to note that Rishi Bankim Chandra College, Evening College of Commerce has organized this webinar on socio-economic impact of COVID-19 in collaboration with Indian Accounting Association South Bengal branch. On behalf of Indian Accounting Association South Bengal branch and also on my own behalf, I welcome you all to this webinar. At the same time, I also thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to join this webinar and say a few words on this occasion. Now, by this time, we all know that coronavirus is a large family of viruses that causes illness. It ranges from common cold to more severe diseases like Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS-CoV, severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS-CoV, etc. The novel coronavirus is a new strain of virus that has not been identified in humans so far. The outbreak of coronavirus disease, COVID, was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, capital of Hubei province of China, and that's why it is known as COVID-19. Since then, it had spread globally and has been recognized as a pandemic by the World Health Organization on 11th March 2020. COVID-19 pandemic is of unprecedented global public health concern. To combat the disease, the government of India imposed a total lockdown in the country from March 24, 2020 onwards. The lockdown was extended several times. The government of India has claimed success in the fight against the corona virus pandemic, stating that the number of cases would have been more if the nationwide lockdown had not been undertaken. However, this view is now being contested as recently numbers of COVID-19 cases have been increasing exponentially. The lockdown is The lockdown in response to the COVID-19 pandemic has impact on economic, social, health, and national health programs in India. In the economic sphere, the outcomes of the lockdown are sharp rise in unemployment, stress on supply chains, decrease in GDP, collapse of the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry, reduced consumer activity, decrease in fuel consumption, etc. Many companies in India have temporarily suspended or significantly reduced operations. FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, in companies in the country have significantly reduced operations. The healthcare system, the fourth largest employer in the country, and specifically the private sector, which provides nearly 80% of outpatient care and about 60% of inpatient care, is currently facing 90% losses due to decrease in outpatient attendance and elective surgeries, and also absence of international patients. The economic impact of the pandemic is likely to be more severe for India in the following manner. Number one, increase in poverty, that is pushing more people below the poverty line. Number two, worsening of socio-economic inequalities, thus affecting health and nutrition indices. And number three, compromise in health-related precautions. For example, use of masks, social distancing, seeking medical advice in case of cough and cold, etc. All these will have major long-term associations with health indicators. The social fabric of India thrives on interdependence, both emotional and economic, within families, relatives, and friends. Close physical interactions like living in crowded housing and other places, pushing and jostling are extremely common and are deterrent to social distancing as dictated during this pandemic. Despite the lockdown, crowding has been observed in religious places, during travel, or even while purchasing goods in the marketplace. While vertical distancing is the cause of inequalities in India, the horizontal distancing put in place in the wake of COVID-19 has further aggravated these inequalities. COVID-19 has the potential to cause disruptions to health and health services in India in different ways. It has been projected in a study that the duration of lockdown is directly proportional to the worsening of glycemic control in patients with diabetes and would increase diabetes related complications. The lockdown could also be a cause of weight gain during COVID-19 pandemic because of poor physical activity. Other diseases like the control of some of which had shown an encouraging trend until now could also surge. For example, HIV infection, TB, tuberculosis, and malaria-related deaths may increase compared to a scenario without COVID-19 pandemic. The economic slowdown could aggravate malnutrition. The loss of daily wage earnings or joblessness can make it difficult to buy even basic food items in people belonging to low-income groups. The fallout of this would be the adverse effect on the most vulnerable population, namely the children and the pregnant women, thus negating previous gains of maternal and child health and nutrition related national programs. Another important upcoming health issue is mental health. Increase in chronic stress, anxiety, depression have been reported as a consequence of this lockdown. While the nationwide lockdown has resulted in financial losses and has affected all segments of society, the domino effect on health, healthcare, and nutrition could possibly pose major setbacks to previously gained successes of national health programs. I have firm belief that our learned resource persons will discuss different aspects of socio-economic impact of COVID-19. Government of India has taken several measures to tackle the situation. I think the learned speakers will also deal with this aspect. They will also suggest more appropriate strategies for the revival of different sectors of the economy in the present economic scenario. Before I end, I again welcome all the participants in this webinar. I also wish the webinar all success with your cooperation. Thank you very much.
Shubharun. Shubharun.
Hello. I would request our Honorable Principal, Dr. Devasis Bhomik Sir, to deliver his inaugural speech. Sir, please.
Thank you to all. Thank you to all. Good morning to all of you, especially the participants, the speakers, the patrons, and I especially thankful to Professor Joydev Shorkel, former professor of the Bardwan University and Honorable President of Indian Accounting Association, South Bengal branch, because he is my former teacher in Kullan University in the year 1982-81. So, sir, thanks. I also thankful to me, our president, governing body president, and former teacher of RBC College, Department of Physics. I welcome today's speaker, Dr. Arindam Gupta, Professor of Department of Commerce, Vidyasagar University, Professor Dipti Kumar Chakravorty, Professor at Department of Commerce, Calcutta University. And especially, it is a mind-blowing topic, that is socio-economic impact of COVID-19. Today, the number of total COVID in our country is nearly 13,85,522. Died 32,063. In Bengal, total COVID affected 58,780. In last 24 hours, it is 2,331. Total died 1,372. Economic activities and social activities are restricted during last 5 months. Teaching learning is nearly stopped. Some classes online classes are taken, that it is not effective due to various reasons, like online system, internet, smartphone. Students are not so capable to handle or to purchase the smartphones. So it's very serious on us. So it should be a meant welcome all the participants, teacher, our department, and the speakers. So I welcome the speakers to deliver their lectures. Thank you. Thank you all. And sir, আমার নমস্কার নেবেন জয়দেব স্যার।
Thank you very much, sir.
পড়াশোনা শুরু করো।
Thank you very much, sir.
শুরু করো।
Sir, it is an honor for me to introduce one of the keynote speakers of today, Professor Arindam Gupta. He is no doubt one of the known faces in the field of commerce. He has been a professor in Department of Commerce, Vidyasagar University since 26 May 2005. His area of interest is finance. He has numerous national and international publications to his credit. He has also authored several books till today. He has guided several researchers who have already awarded PhD. He has completed several project works funded by different national and international agencies. He is associated with several professional and academic bodies. It is an hour needed to explain about sir. So without consuming so much time, I am requesting Professor Arindam Gupta sir to deliver his valuable speech. Sir, please.
Namaskar. Good morning to everybody. Honorable Principal of the college, Honorable President, Governing Body of the college, my dear faculty members of the Department of Commerce of RBC Evening College, Dr. Porashor Banerjee, Dr. Dilip Karok, Dr. Shubharun Goswami, some of whom I can name, some others I may not name because I do not know them in person. My respected co-speaker, Professor Dipti Kumar Chakravorty, and dear students, I have been told by the organizers that they have been given the YouTube link so they can hear me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great feeling that after my teacher, Professor Joydev Sarkel, has introduced so nicely the background, it's my chance to speak something before you. And the topic is so much discussed here and there and so much relevant that it doesn't require any special mention how important it is to discuss about the socio and economic impact of COVID. So anyway, I would try to not to repeat which we already may know, and I shall also try to restrict my presentation within time. That is, the given time to me is 40 minutes. I try to share my file. I think the permission has been given by the technical people who are there. Is my screen visible? Can anyone help me? Is my screen visible?
দেবজ্যোতি
হ্যালো দেবজ্যোতি একটু দেখো দেবজ্যোতি
Professor Arindam Das, is my screen visible?
দেবজ্যোতি
No,
Yeah, it's visible, but it's not presenting.
হ্যালো
It's
দেবজ্যোতি
Now it's
Screen is
visible.
visible.
Listen me.
Now you can
Debojyoti, listen me.
Yes, yes.
Now you can
Yeah.
see it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Just increase
So
the
yeah,
slide size.
I didn't make any PPT.
And yes, sir, it is visible now.
Okay, I didn't make any PPT. Just it's a Word file which I would like to show. I think it may be seen by you, and even if you can't see, it's no problem. I am going on discussing what I am present to tell you. So first, you see the COVID-19 pandemic is far more than a health crisis, and that is why we are discussing the socio and economic impact. And early evidence indicates that the health and economic impacts of the virus are being borne disproportionately by the poor people. As we all know, the poor people don't have good shelter, they don't have adequate awareness also. So they are very much vulnerable to the disease, and moreover, they have their livelihood issues. So they have to come out from the shelter very often. They have to work and feed their near and dear ones. So all these intermingled. So that is why it is widely perceived that they were more vulnerable. But now you see the recent news, the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh is affected, one leading film star is affected. Earlier among the developed nations, one prime minister was affected. So now you can say this disease has eroded the divide between the rich and poor, or the developed and underdeveloped. So maybe we can conclude that the poor will be affected more, and naturally more, but the others may not escape. And you see, there is a unanimity about the weapon, how to fight back the disease, and univocally it is advocated everywhere, social distancing. But at the same time, the common people like me expected some vaccine from the scientists, from the medical experts, with which we can fight back the disease more effectively. But till now, it is under testing phase. It is not yet being advocated for medical use. So until the medical use of vaccine is there, the social distancing is the only weapon for us. Although we know the livelihood problem, which I will discuss a lot in my coming discussion. And the development trajectories of all the countries in the world, as I have already told that this pandemic has eroded of the divide between developed and developing nations. So all the trajectories, all the growth rates, all the countries will be distorted. So now there is a need for the world across, the countries across, to integrate their strategies. We all know that there are a few groups like SAARC, like G20, where the countries are natural allies. But apart from these groups, new groups may emerge. All the countries should come together and fight back the disease so that the mankind is safe. So now let us come to our country. The lockdown, which started from Janta curfew as on 22nd March, when Prime Minister had warned us that that was the beginning of a long battle. That was a 14-hour putting off ourselves from the road and streets and activity. But after that, we know lockdown 1, then lockdown 2, then lockdown 3. And when the lockdown 3 was on the going, we got a financial package or economic package announcement from the Prime Minister on 12th May. the name of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is the other name of economic self-reliance. And during the next few days, the packages were declared by our finance minister, by the Reserve Bank of India. But it is notable that an announcement came from the government after 50 days. After 50 days, too long a period. So lockdown 4, now lockdown 5, as having been renamed as unlocking phase 1. So actually it was announced on June 1. So after 7 days from June 8, lockdown continued for containment zones, phased unlocking for the other zones, the religious places, the shopping malls, they were given green signal. But again, unlocking in another phase was declared from July 1, that is on the first day of this month, which will continue till the end until further announcement. Again, lockdown for containment zones, further relaxation for some other sectors, as we know. But now you see, as we live in the state of West Bengal, I also come to know about Madhya Pradesh and some other states where weekly lockdowns are being proposed. In West Bengal, we already are having recently on 23rd and 25th, and we are going to have another lockdown on 29th. So this means that, as the statistics was given by the Honorable Principal, I don't repeat them, that the country is again getting back the disease. We all know the very significantly improving status of the state of Kerala, which has fought back the disease very well at an early phase, but now Kerala is also getting affected again, maybe less than the other parts like Maharashtra, Delhi, or now Karnataka. But West Bengal is now in the 6th state in terms of the number of infected people in the country. And India, so far as the rate of infection is concerned, is now in number 2 in the world, very significantly. It is remaining in number 3 so far as total positive cases are concerned, but so far as rate of growth is concerned, now we are just behind USA. So it is a very alarming trend for the country. So now let me take you back to the immediate shock of the lockdown, the Indian economy. Now let me take my cup of tea, which I am asked to drink and share with you. The Indian economy was expected to lose over 32,000 crore, which is equivalent to 4.5 billion US dollar every day during the first 21 days of complete lockdown. And under complete lockdown, you know that less than a quarter of India's $2.8 trillion economy was functional. So up to 53% of the business of the country were projected to be significantly affected. As already pointed out by my teacher, Professor Sarkar, supply chains have been put under severe stress with the lockdown restrictions in place. Initially, there was a lack of clarity in streamlining what an essential is, what is not, but ultimately that was removed with the circulars. Those in the informal sectors and daily wage groups are at the most risk. The number of farmers who grow perishables also faced uncertainty. We have seen the loss of milk in the earlier stage draining out. So that was a loss of resource. Now let me quickly take you to already known sphere, that is the effect on labor, employment and industry. As we know that issue of migrant workers is one of the most discussed issues. Will you please mute everybody, because it disturbs the speaker as well as the listeners. Please mute yourself. So based on pressure of the political opponents, this is my own analysis, the government at the center had to resort to probably a not so sensible state from the viewpoint of spreading of pandemic to arrange the homecoming of the migrant workers. The federal structure of the government of the country looked to some extent helpless in the hands of irresponsible statesmanship. Before that, in making adequate provisions of livelihood for these migrant workers in a few states. Some of the states started to behave like mini countries. They went on declaring their own policies. They sealed their borders. So there was lack of coordination from them with the center. It does not mean only the non-BJP political parties which were at the helm of the state. A few non-BJP political parties also cooperated with the center, but some others, we are clueless as to why they took such a peculiar stand. Around 14 crore people lost employment during the lockdown, while salaries were cut for many others. You have friends from the private sector, you know the story. Nonetheless, you know that disproportionate pay cut has already taken place. More than 45% households across the country reported an income drop as compared to the previous year. The unemployment statistics for which the CMI Mumbai has its own goodwill, so I quote CMI Mumbai. Although the government is a bit critical of CMI, yet I quote the source that by 24th April, the unemployment rate had increased nearly 19% within a month, reaching 26% across India. Although by mid-June it has improved a bit, but you see from say around 7%, it reached to 26%. This unemployment rate, as you know, that it is calculated on the basis of the eligible employable people, on the basis of eligible employable people, not the whole population. The service sector, which accounts for 55% of our GDP, was among the hardest hit. The whole aviation, you see the airlines, they had to stop their services. So what losses they are incurring? And they are already accumulated losses. All the airline companies, the hotels and establishments, you see the hotels are stopped, the restaurants are stopped. The tourism industry, you know, a large section of the people in the tourist places, they depend on the tourists inflow about their livelihood. The tourists have stopped. So what a miserable situation all around. So it is estimated that the loss to the tourism industry alone amounts to rupees 15,000 crore during March and April. And about the industrial production of the country, India's core 8 infrastructure sectors recorded a fall. Contraction means a fall, a negative growth of 38.1% on a year-on-year basis in April 2020. That means if you compare the industrial production in April 2020 against that in April 2019, you will find a 38.1% fall. And also in the month of May, we observed a 34.7% fall against that in May 2019. So now long-term impact on Indian economy, the government targeted to reach a 5 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy. So now there is no hope to reach that target in near future, but you must acknowledge the statistics that the country was already passing through the economic slowdown. The growth rates were progressively coming down. There are the growth rates which you can see from the word file which is before you. So just you see the 1920 growth rates, the 4-quarter growth rates. You see 5%, 4.5%, 4.7%. Now this quarter, that means from January to March, the red colored quarter, Q4 of 1920, you see the whole of that quarter is not affected by the pandemic. Yet you find the growth rate drastically fall to 3.1%. The market forecast was 2.1%, so there is minor recovery of that. So Indian economy observed throughout the year 2019-20 an average growth of 4.2%. That is why the lowest real quarterly growth reported by India earlier was 1.7% in third quarter of 2003-04, followed by 1.8% in fourth quarter of 2001-02, and 3.5% in fourth quarter of 2009-10. You know, that is infamous for the global financial crisis, which India could evade for some reason, but still there was an impact on its growth rate of GDP. But now you see it even went down from that figure, and now you see, if you see these figures, you will really exclaim, minus 21%. The first quarter, that is fully the quarter from April to June, which is fully affected by the pandemic, it is estimated that there will be minus 25%. This is an Axis Bank survey. Still now the government has not published yet any data. So it is minus 25%, the GDP growth rate. And by another Deccan Herald newspaper, they have made a survey, they have published the rate to be minus 21%, very close. Now, for the coming year, I mean that already the year which we are in, 2020-21, this financial year, IMF has already forecasted the growth rate to contract. That means there will be a negative growth rate of 4.9%. When this declaration has taken place, I have intentionally put it in bracket because sometimes the newer estimates are made on the basis of projections, it changes. So you see all these projections are in the month of June, that of IMF, that of Fitch, another very renowned rating institution which has forecasted Indian economy to contract by 5%. So almost close to 4.9%. RBI, our own central bank, has forecasted to contract the economy. The economy will contract by 1.5%. That is also in the early part of June. So in any case, the economy is going to have a fall in growth rate surely in the coming year. Now the general social stress, because economic stress is easily understandable sometimes when we put on the figures, when we submit the figures, the statistics, but the social stress is sometimes intangible. You cannot see them in front of you, but you can feel that millions of low-income people either lost their job already or will lose their job, and due to that they will remain incapable to pay their health insurance premium. And this is especially in the developed country. All these people are very much socially secured by health insurance covers. So you know the figures of USA, what death has taken place. And now in India, as a developing country, though our people were not so largely covered under social security schemes, yet the people who are in the private sector, the people who are in self-employment, who used to pay Mediclaim premiums, they will no more be capable to pay their health insurance premiums, so they will bring thus more risk to their life and livelihood. So social stress is also caused by traveling restrictions, you know, social distancing with friends and family, the closure of places of entertainment and leisure. As was pointed out by my teacher, Professor Sarkel, that there is already a trend in the world these days of depression affecting the population. UN had already a statistics that depression is affecting nearly 264 million people around the world. So now UN had warned, the United Nations had warned that coronavirus pandemic has the seeds of a major mental health crisis. We have come across the attempts of suicide, the suicides, even from the celebrities. So it's very unfortunate and disappointing for all of us. Many countries have reported an increase in domestic violence attributed to lockdowns. Financial insecurity, stress, and uncertainty have led to increased aggression at home. Effect on healthcare. Now I would like to furnish before you a very recent presentation of a World Bank team which was invited by our government, the Finance Commission, the 15th Finance Commission, about the healthcare status of the country. So what they have presented before the team in the first week of July only, this month, let me summarize them, that India's government health spending a little over 1% of GDP, which is the lowest in the world. So there exist a very large persistent health gaps among states. We know that Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Delhi, they have very good health backups, but there are some other states, Bihar, Jharkhand, northeastern states, even there are states in South India, other states which have not yet been that much developed. 60 million Indians were pushed into poverty annually as a result of high spending on healthcare. This was already in vogue before this pandemic has invaded. You know, there was a very innovative scheme announced by our Prime Minister, that is PM Jan Arogya Yojana, the health insurance, public health insurance scheme. Again, some of the state governments very peculiarly have abstained from joining this mission. But anyway, due to this pandemic, this PM Jan Arogya Yojana program showed a decline of 64% in hospitalization and 51% during the full 10 weeks of hospitalization. These are the hospitals which are approved by the PM Jan Arogya Yojana schemes, where the poor people, they can get themselves treated and they can get back their hospitalization expenses through the government introduced medical claim policy, the premium for which is paid by the government. And there was a 25% fall in deliveries of new births and a 64% decline in cancer care. This is more alarming, and you know that 90% of those reporting an ailment seek outside medical advice in normal times. During the lockdown, only about 40% are reporting about medical ailments, because you know there was a fall in the hospitals also in West Bengal and in many other states, in private hospitals, in government hospitals, because there was lockdown, no transport was available, there was a fear, psychosis among the people that if I go to the hospital, I will catch up the disease. There was less supply of doctor and medical staff who were more engaged in treating with the COVID patients. So all these led to the fallout, a fall in the hospital OPDs also. So inadequate infrastructure leading to ill-equipped healthcare employees, you know, the front runners, the front warriors of COVID, they were how badly treated in the initial days. They were not having the PPEs. You know the stories are almost common, that they are not getting the essential life-saving kits to treat the COVID patients. So this is very, very disappointing. This major loss and unpreparedness is an aftermath of the negligence of healthcare sector since years. Pandemic has interrupted in regular immunizations of children. It will have a very bad say of their future life. And apart from that, you know how badly it has affected patients awaiting chemotherapy, dialysis, etc. Now come to the sector with which we are more attached, that education sector. According to data released by UNESCO on 25th March, schools and university closures due to COVID-19 were implemented nationwide in 165 countries, including localized closures. This affects over 1.5 billion students worldwide, accounting for 87% of enrolled learners. This disruption in education and learning could have medium and long-term consequences on the quality of education. So I would like to refer a conversation of a very well-known film directed by none other than the legendary Satyajit Ray, Shakha Proshakha, the Bengali film, which many of you have seen, but I would translate the conversation. The little boy was asked by his idealist and ailing grandfather that, what do you know? How do you know how the elders are talking about? Then the little boy answered, Dadu, I mean the grandfather is called in Bengali Dadu. I know what is one number, what is two number. আমি এক নম্বর জানি, দু নম্বর জানি. So this conversation, I mean, this was an eye opener. So now the children of the school, the little children, what they will say? They will say, Dadu, we know what is muting, what is unmuting. So these are the languages of the young people, of the young, I mean the children. They missed the playground for such a long time. Now they have become just tools in the hands of the machines. So this will affect their mental health surely. Now you see the older people. The older persons were always susceptible to the risk of infection. Now they have chronic health problems like hypertension, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes. Now the older persons are just struggling. They do not understand how to keep themselves clean with these kinds of, the sanitizer, then soap and so much use. Don't touch here, don't put that here, don't take these utensils in this way. So much instructions from the younger ones like us that they are very much helpless. They are looking helpless. So now there have been already developed the negative stereotypes about the older persons in many families, that they are weak, they are unimportant, they are burden of the society. Such age-based discrimination may manifest in the provision of services because the treatment of older persons may be perceived to have less value than the treatment of younger generations. I know the story of Italy, that there were lack of hospital beds and the ventilator. So one patient came in the age group of 40, the another patient came in the age group of 70. So the age group of the person in the age group of 40 was given the ventilator due to his life expectancy, due to his productive life remaining more. The person in the age group of 70 was not given that ventilator. How cruel we can be, but what else? We could have supported only one man. So the doctors took that decision in that way. But how cruel the decision would have been for a doctor also. Effect on women. You see the women are at greater risk from the health perspectives because they are the they keep the house. They are the housekeepers. So they are unsafe along with their families, who particularly they live in poor and substandard conditions, that they have already social inequities like gender-based violence, child abuse, lack of security, money and health. So resource limitations for women has brought in a situation where women tend to neglect their own requirements while prioritizing life and budgets of others in the family. And issues like menstrual hygiene, mental health, and her nutrition do not feature in the list of priority anymore. Effects on persons with physical disabilities in particular. You see the persons with physical disabilities have already difficulties in implementing measures to keep the virus at bay. How will they keep their personal hygiene? Suppose one person can't walk himself or herself. They need the support to stand. So they need support to take food. If situations are such, then how they would survive? So it's very difficult for them to survive in such a situation. So now let me, for the remaining 10 minutes time, come to the relief strategies for the poor and for the support for the industries. I have to increase my speed of telling you the strategies because time is limited. On 26th March, just in the post-month of lockdown, a number of economic relief measures for the poor were announced, totaling over 1,70,000 crore. The next day, that is 27th March, RBI announced a number of measures requiring infusion of 3,74,000 crore to the country's financial system. On 70th April, RBI announced more measures, including rupees 50,000 crore special finance to NABARD, SIDBI and NHB. On 18th April, to protect Indian companies during the pandemic, the government changed India's foreign trade direct investment policy. The Department of Military Affairs put on hold all capital acquisitions for the beginning of the financial year to keep the resources available for the development. I mean, the protectionism came after a long time. India changed, as I already told about the FDI policy, that no opportunistic takeover or acquisition of Indian companies take place, especially the countries which share the borders with us. You all know whom I direct and whom the government had meant to direct. The PM Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, I mean the Garib Kalyan Yojana, Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, Garib Kalyan Rajgar Yojana. There were three such yojanas or schemes announced by the government, which were very much, I mean, the timely decisions from the central government. Under the Kalyan Anna Yojana, the government was to supply 5 kg free food grains per ration card holder and 1 kg pulses per beneficiary family for 3 months till the month of June. This is over and above the food security issue, which is protected under the National Food Security Act, which is meant for the Antoda Yojana beneficiaries, the below poverty line people, the poorest of the poor people, for whom the government supplies the 5 kg of subsidized food grains, and they can buy from ration shops rice at 3 per kg, wheat at 2 per kg, and coarse grains like jawar, bajra at rupee 1 per kg only. You see, the public distribution system is totally broken in some of the states. You know the stories. I would not like to explain in details. You all know the stories. So the central government has many people-friendly schemes, poor-friendly schemes, but the central government is not expected to have its network to reach those essential supplies to the hands of the people, to the hands of the poor. For that, the state government machinery should coordinate with the central government support. But here lies the problem. The PDS system is totally collapsed in some of the states. And you know the reporting in newspapers. I would not like to take more time about this, but you see the government has adequate provisions. The central government has made timely decisions, but that is not yet implemented. Now the special economic package. On 12 May, the Prime Minister announced an overall economic package worth rupees 20 lakh crore, the much talked and much discussed worldwide, which amounts to 10% of India's GDP, the mission of self-reliant nation, Atmanirbhar Bharat. During the next 5 days, the Finance Minister announced the details of the economic package. 2 days later, the cabinet cleared a number of proposals in the economic package, including a free food grain package. You know how touchy the package was. Let me read out that first, that the food grain package, to ensure migrants do not go hungry due to the lockdown, the central government had announced on 14th May 5 kg free food grains per person and 1 kg chana per family to 8 crore migrants for 2 months. So now you see, these are for the migrants who do not have the ration card. So the central government had also one policy, one citizen, one ration card. But I don't know why some of the states have not joined in a very useful scheme like this. So this is very, very fishy to me and to many others. So now you see enterprises, now with investment, the definition of the micro, small and medium enterprises have been redefined. The MSMEs with up to rupees 25 crore outstanding debt. But in a word, these MSMEs will be supplied with more funds so that they can get back their capital and they can start their business again. The corpus of 10,000 crore will be set up for MSMEs. Now you see the agriculture-based country India, the Prime Minister has adequate mind for the farmers. So farmers will be provided institutional credit facilities at concessional rates through Kishan credit cards. This scheme will cover 2.5 crore farmers with concessional credit worth rupees 2 lakh crore. A fund of 1 lakh crore will be created for the development of agricultural infrastructure projects at farm gate and aggregation points. An additional fund of 30,000 crore will be released as emergency working capital for farmers. The PM Matsya Sampad Yojana will be launched for integrated, sustainable and inclusive development of marine and inland fisheries. An animal husbandry infrastructure development fund of rupees 15,000 crore will be set up with the aim of supporting private investment in dairy processing, value addition and cattle feed infrastructure. The government will approve plans worth rupees 6,000 crore under the compensatory afforestation management and planning authority to facilitate job creation for tribals and Adivasis. So you see, even the street vendors, under the designated scheme for street vendors, bank credit will be provided to each vendor for initial capital of up to rupees 10,000. So you see, none escaped from the attention of the Prime Minister. He is a visionary Prime Minister. He provided for everyone. Now the state government should coordinate and cooperate with the central public policy so that the people of the country are really benefited. You see, the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, as per which the government paid 12% of employer and 12% of employee contribution into MPPF of eligible establishment for the months of April and May. This will be continued for June, July and August. Two interesting observations, these are my own observations in the call of Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is it only a slogan, as the critics are pointing out, that this does not amount to 10% of GDP really, this amounts to 3%. And now the Prime Minister has unequivocally said that this 10% of GDP calculation includes the previous contributions which were declared by the government after the lockdown was imposed, and there will be many phases of declarations by the government henceforth. So it is an estimated figure that 10% of GDP will be invested like this. But the critics are they criticize for criticism. So now you see just two interesting observations from my side. From zero production of PPE before March 2020, India today has created a capacity of producing 2 lakh PPE kits daily. This is not a single signal that we are becoming Atmanirbhar. Repurposing of various automobile sector industries to collaborate in the making of life-saving ventilators. So how much effective a step it was when we were lacking the number of ventilators per patient. So I think we are running out of time so far as my allotted time is concerned, but I would like to say another Garib Kalyan Roजगार Abhiyan, as per which when the migrant workers will come back to their home states, even that did not escape the attention of the Prime Minister. As per the Garib Kalyan Rojgar Abhijan, there was an initial funding of 50,000 crore, as per which 116 districts in 6 states will be tackled in 125 days. There was a time frame that these migrant workers who will come back to the states like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Jharkhand and Orissa, they will get work in public infrastructure projects so that they can earn their livelihood. So they will get their work. So friends and respected teachers who are present here, I would like to end up my discussion with the announcement or call which the Prime Minister has given to the people at the time of the second address to the nation post-lockdown, that the pandemic has affected us. The pandemic has not spared anyone, be he poor, be he rich, be he a filmster, be he a common man. So now what we have to do? In the initial phase, he told, "Jaan hai to jahan hai." But that slogan is no more effective because the livelihood has to be taken care of. So now the Prime Minister has given us the call, "Jaan bhi or jahan bhi." So friends, we know that we have to take adequate care and protection from the pandemic. We have to take all necessary precautions. We have to maintain social distancing as much as possible, but we have to also engage in activities, because otherwise the mental stress will just cripple us. We shall be vulnerable to all these disappointing events which we are hearing all around. So let us remain active. Let us look at the public policy, national policy. Let us press upon the governments who are not that much in a mood to coordinate with the national policy. So it's not the time of an argument. It's not time of quarrel.
Professor Dipti Kumar Chakravorty sir to deliver his valuable speech. Sir, please.
Respected President Sir of RBC Evening College, am I audible to everyone? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, sir.
So, respected President Sir of RBC Evening College, respected Principal Sir and other members of the organizing committee of today's webinar. At the very outset, I must convey my sincere thanks to all of you for inviting me. Actually, I have got here a very rare opportunity. The opportunity to share the screen with the revered personalities like Professor Joydev, the teacher of many of the teachers, and also my beloved friend, my brother, and a very respected personality, Professor Arindam Gupta. Actually, this is a rare opportunity that I have been here and I will be speaking on the issue on which they have already deliberated something. So, this is a rare opportunity. I am again thankful, grateful to the organizer. Now, to my beloved, distinguished and learned audience. Very good afternoon to all of you. I do not know whether this good wish that actually I want to convey through this webinar, how far that will be effective or be fruitful. Actually, still we hope against hope. Hope is the only driver of our life. So we must continue hoping. We'll fail, again we'll hope. So based on that hope against hope theory, I wish good afternoon to all of you, and hope, as our previous speaker just now pointed out, that one day surely we'll have the good morning, good afternoon in two sense. So long, I was listening with rapt attention the eloquent speeches given by one respected teacher of a number of teachers, Professor Joydeep Sarkar, and also of Professor Arindam Gupta, Professor Vidyasagar University. And therefrom we have come to know that how the socio-economic condition of our country in particular and the globe as a whole, this is now at the very brink, the socio-economic condition. But one point that actually a number of points, almost all the points have been covered by my previous speaker, so I am fortunate enough I did not touch upon them. One thing that actually haunts me, and I think this haunts almost all of you also, that the life and the livelihood. Life and the livelihood, these two terms never are mutually exclusive. If livelihood is not there, the means of the livelihood is not there, the life will be at stake, we all know. But at the same time, if life is not there, then our livelihood is meaningless, livelihood is useless. What for? We'll think about the livelihood. So both are interdependent. This is fact, the life and the livelihood. But the point is, at the eve of this pandemic situation, where actually will stress upon? If with both of them we can go hand in hand, then nothing can be better than that. But for many reasons, the resource limitation or many other limitations, I think both cannot be looked upon with same emphasis at the same time. So which actually will be our priority? Actually, I think that if the life is in danger, if the life actually is at stake in this way, and as our previous speaker just now pointed out, the fear psychosis is there about the life, then even if we adopt a number of livelihood measures, livelihood yojanas, they will not work in that way. A very recent study that was published in the Telegraph newspaper, perhaps most of you have noticed it. Most of you have noticed it, that in the first quarter of this financial year 2021, especially during the last part of this quarter, that our economic condition to some extent started bouncing back. But what was the reason that we started bouncing back? Actually, this is the opinion of the experts, that the measures that were taken by the governments, the central government, the state governments, and all others concerned with this, the lockdown measure, and also the other measures associated with this, the people in general, they started to believe that perhaps within a few days we will be in that morning, good morning, that good dawn. That means everything, actually, the disappointing thing, the pandemic thing will be over and will be in the brighter days. You know that a number of international bodies, the heads of different foreign countries, they also lauded the schemes or the policies, the lockdown measures that was adopted in our country. They lauded it. So we are expecting, we actually somehow got some trust or the faith, and the fear psychosis from our mind to some extent, this was reduced. And this is the reason perhaps for which the economy bounced back, started bouncing back. Not only in our country. The examples are given there of China. In the same quarter, surprisingly, the China made a growth of 3.2% increase. Yes. Actually, why? Am I visible to anyone or no? Am I visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir,
You
you
are
are visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I am visible. Okay. So, surprisingly, the China made a growth of 3.2%. The reason behind it, according to experts, the same, that there they could check the spread of this infectious disease, the COVID-19. They could do it, and this is the reason. Or Vietnam, very small country. There also, there is the example instance of the coming back. The growth rate is too small but positive, 0.36%. 0.36% is the same because they have checked to a large extent the spread of the COVID-19. At least the fear psychosis can be reduced. Japan, Australia, all are the same example. But since the time the unlock phases have started, you know that proportionately or disproportionately, the cases of infection, the spread of COVID-19, this also is increasing without any limit. Without any limit. And according to those experts, that this is the region for which in the first fortnight of this month, July, again our economic growth, this has fallen down drastically. And this perhaps is the reason, the fear for, the panic for the disease. Actually, if you remember another pandemic of 100 years back, 1918 or 1919, that time death toll, this was much more than what have been up till now in our country or the world as a whole. Okay. In our country alone, and during that period, our total population was 318 million, roughly 32 crores. And out of this, 14 to 17 million people, they were died, roughly 6%. And now perhaps you know the death toll, be it in our country, be it in the world as a whole, our country's position is better than the world's position. This has not yet come into a percentage, 0.007 or 0.003, this is the percentage of the total population, the death toll. So number of deaths is not in that way that we should be concerned with, but the panic of the death. Panic of the death, and that our previous speakers also mentioned, then not as to complete the death. When we will be actually infected, then what will be our conditions? The treatment, the bed is not available. We will run from one hospital to another, no bed will be given. And after our death, if we are died, the condition we are seeing in the newspaper. that the fear psychosis or the trauma or the panic, this actually is looking large on us in such a way that we are losing all our confidence, all our strength to work for our livelihood, to go out for during those days, again 100 years back. So the pandemic was worse than this pandemic, up till now at least. But the fact is, during those days, the social media was not there. So every day, the horrible pictures of different events, they were not displayed here and there. Some newspapers were there, but thanks to World War I, perhaps you know that time there was World War I, there was restriction, strict censorship on the newspaper. So these news, actually news of this pandemic, this could not be spread in that way. So people, they were mostly unaware about the gravity of that pandemic. So they used to go out and for shopping, for the economic activity. So this was at the cost of their lives, no doubt. And for this reason, the death toll was so high. But the economy, this could be actually restored within a very few months. In 1920, the complete restoration was done so far as the economy is concerned. But now, in the morning, you turn over the pages of the newspaper, just you tap the screen of your mobile phone. So, a number of horrible pictures, pathetic pictures you will get. How the owner, the porta of one family is helpless, hopeless. He or she cannot save himself or herself, and he or she does not know how to save their family members. This is more pathetic. If this happens, what will actually, what thing he will do? He himself or she herself does not know. So the deepest trauma that actually they are entering in, as a result of that, you know about the locus of control, the livelihood, how the livelihood can be there. The locus of control can be internal and external, perhaps you all know. Internal locus of control means that I have self-confidence, I believe I can do many things, if not everything. I am the architect of my own fate, internal locus of control. So long you have this internal locus of control, you will have the urge, you will have the capacity to do something for your livelihood. But due to this thing, this fear psychosis or your panic, in whatever name you may call it, our locus of control is gradually becoming external locus of control. That means you have started to think that we are perhaps the puppets in the hands of someone else, some external factor. We ourselves have nothing to do, what will be, will be. So, this being the situation, we are gradually removing ourselves from everything, from our economic activity, as our Professor Circle just now mentioned, that we are withdrawing ourselves every day. We are giving the advice that physical exercise is necessary, regular physical exercise. But we are withdrawing from that physical exercise also. In a study, you have seen that the duration of the physical exercise, this has come down to 42%, and resultant your weight gain and along with type 2 diabetes. So from everything we are withdrawing ourselves, the depression, the stress, the burnout, and ultimately the exhaustion. This psychological setback, I think, is the major impact, significant impact of this COVID-19, where from we must come out. Due to this psychological setback, a number of physical illness, resultant physical illness. This is quite natural. The headache, your heart disease, your high blood pressure, insomnia, all are coming in. And all these are again the comorbidities. This term today, thanks to the newspapers. And as a result of which your COVID-19 itself is becoming fatal to you. Behavioral change. In search of some solace, you are depending on liquor, alcoholic, you are becoming alcoholic. Your substance abuse, this is also not few and far between. All these are happening day by day. And where from actually we will get the relief out of this? Perhaps all of you know that when our personal pain is so acute, when you are distressed in this way, then we need some shoulders to cry on. Shoulders of some relatives, shoulders of some friends, shoulders of some neighbors you want. But again, courtesy of our social distancing. Your personal setback and actually some flame, if some fuel is added to that flame, your social distancing. Who actually has coined this term social distancing, we do not know. But we should be thankful to him or her for his or her farsightedness in coining this term social distance. Actually, when we talk about social distancing, we usually mean physical distancing. In spite of that, the term social distancing. Why? Because perhaps he or she would foresee beforehand that this physical distancing will lead to a dangerous social distancing. We will be completely socially distanced. And this has actually been a very significant impact of this COVID-19. Your no friend, your no neighbor, your no relative, he or she is allowed to knock at your door. You allow your maid servant, okay, your housemaid, because there is a necessity, but these persons are not allowed. Only in emergency you go out of your home, of your den. Again, you are in a hurry to come back again to your home. So if by chance you get someone on the way, your friend or your neighbor, then also you will not be able to open up your mind in front of him. If we cannot open up, we all know, if we can share our sorrow, our sadness, then this will decrease. This stress, depression can be resolved to a large extent if you can share it with some others. But no, it is not possible. You have one mask on your face. So to speak out wearing this mask is very difficult, number one. Number two, the distance of these 6 feet. Actually, the people of the country like USA, when they are in face-to-face conversation, the people of your US-like country, when they are in face-to-face conversation, they usually keep backing up. So for them, this physical distancing, it is not difficult, they can maintain it. In spite of that, they cannot save themselves, because you know what has been the condition of the country like USA. But this is their culture. But the people of the country like Peru, India, etc., Peruvian people, Indian, they actually, their culture is that when we will have one face-to-face conversation, we will come closer. If we cannot stand closer, then it will not be possible for us to open up our mind. Okay. Indian culture and our Bengalis, and what to say of them. When there is any friendly discussion, our Bengalis, they prefer to keep one hand on the shoulder of the other person. And when they are in some hot discussion, some quarrel, hot discussion, argument, counter arguments, then also they want to come closer to the other person and raise the finger on the very nose of the other party. So this is our culture. So when we are standing 6 feet apart, this is not possible for us to open up our mind. So if we cannot do that, how our personal pain, your psychological setback can be resolved, can be reduced. And then you all know that traveling, we prefer it most. And by our traveling, we can reduce a large part of our stress, our depression. But there is strict restriction on traveling. We cannot also organize any social gathering, any social ceremony. All the places of our entertainment, our leisure time spending places, all are closed. Even the religious places, the temple, the churches, the mosques, so all these places are also closed. These places are the places where I used to rush in search of some peace. But here also we have no opportunity to do so. Then what shall I do? You know that valuable remark of Aristotle, the great philosopher Aristotle. He stated that human beings are by nature the social animal. So if they do not get the social environment, whether the individuals are the product of the society or the society is the product of the individuals, there is debate on this. So we did not enter into that debate. But the fact is that we are interdependent. Society and individuals with the persons. The social environment, the social fabric is completely at stake due to all these things. If this had been the case of USA, again, USA, rich Western countries like USA, like Canada, like UK, Australia also, it's not Western, but Australia also. Their individualism, this dominates over collectivism. So in those countries, if the social environment is not so okay, then also perhaps the problem is not so acute. But in the country like ours, where the social, your fabric, this is well knit, okay, very closely dependent on the society. We live in the crowded family. We travel in the crowded bus, crowded train. Everywhere there is crowd. So if there this kind of restrictions are there, all the places are closed, then how the social environment, interaction with the social people, this is the only way to reduce our personal grief, but this is not possible. Rather, this is accentuating our personal grief, personal pain, or psychological setback. Our social environment being damaged in this way, we are just like the fishes out of the water. This is our situation now. And this actually, this again, I mentioned that the impact of this COVID-19. Actually, I am mostly worried. Our previous speaker also touched upon this point, our children. We are much more worried about our children, not so much about the grown-up students, college or the university, but of the schools. The children, their schools are closed. And in our family, you all know that in most cases, there is just one child, single child family. No grandmother, no grandfather. no brother, no sister. Okay. The parents are there, but parents today very rarely can be. They should be, but they cannot be the friends of the children. Today there is helicopter parenting. This term actually we use in our behavioral science, helicopter parenting. Continuously, constantly, they hover over the head of the children. You do it, you do not do it, you must not do it. These are the dictations, and they have to follow it. So the children are as if in the prison. Schools are closed, swimming classes, your drawing classes, all are closed, where they can have some friend of his or her own age, they can open up their mind, all are closed. So they are as if in jail, and the parents are the jail superintendent. What will be their future? What will be the future of our future generation? Perhaps you know the story of that girl child of USA, illegitimate child. Her name was Annie. As because she was an illegitimate child, she was kept confined in a room for a number of years. Just some milk, etc. was provided to her for her survival. After a number of years, when she was brought out of her confinement by some NGO or some people, it was noticed that neither she could walk nor she could speak. He could make only some inarticulate sound like animals. Okay, this is the situation. Then she was given some congenial social environment, and after a few years, surprisingly, it was noticed that she was getting back the human qualities one by one. One example. In our country also, there is a similar example, roughly 100 years back. Perhaps you know that story. This is not the story, this is the incident. The two girl children, somehow they are thrown into the den of a wolf, one kind of tiger. But what is the reason you do not know that wolf actually they got the requisite care, food, shelter from that wolf. Okay, and they are very well within the den of the wolf, these two girls. But in the year 1928, roughly 100 years back, they were discovered, they are brought out of their den. And two beautiful names were also given to them, Amola and Kamala, perhaps you know. But as and when they were brought up, they came into the touch of other human being. Amola died then and there. Kamala was alive for a few months, but she could not speak, she could not walk. Brain development was totally subnormal. So I am afraid, if in this way the children of the modern time, they are kept confined with the room for some longer days, what will be the fate? How will be their brain development of our future generation? This social impact, I feel that the impact of our COVID-19, dangerous impact of COVID-19. Thirdly, another point that I should touch upon, that not only this COVID-19 has damaged the social fabric or our personal life to a large extent, but I believe, and I think you will also point with me, that this has also hit at the very root of our humanity. This has also hit at the very root of our humanity, perhaps you all know. Okay. Humanity, you all know the qualities that make us human beings. One dog is born as a dog. One tiger is born as a tiger, but one man, he or she is not born as a man or the human being. He or she is to pass through and acquire a number of human qualities, and ultimately he or she could be a human being. Otherwise, there is no difference between the human being and the other animals. The eating, the mating, spending, your sleeping, or your defending, these four are the basic characteristics of every animal, and we also mostly do the same four activities. There is no basic difference. As because we have some high level of IQ, this is not the basic difference, because animals have also, other animals have also their IQ, so they can be trained. But they do not get the continuous learning process like us, so they cannot sharpen their brain, sharpen their IQ. So this is not qualitative difference between other animals and the, your individuals, that you have your intelligence and they do not have this. No, this is not true. As because you can sharpen it by continuous learning process, you can better use your IQ. You can better use. But the sociologists are of opinion that one woman, she is pushing one perambulator, keeping her baby in it through the park street, suppose. And one ant, a very little insect, it is carrying its eggs to its nest. There is no basic difference between the two. You are driving on a four-wheelers, and a dog is running on its four legs. There is no qualitative difference between the two. There can be some difference in degree, quantitative difference at best. So then the qualities, human qualities that passes through your EQ, emotional quotient. You can control your emotions. Mostly the other animals cannot do that. You can use your conscience while having some gratification, enjoyment, etc. So here, to some extent, there is the difference if you possess your EQ. According to sociology, still you are not human being. You may be just one polished animal when you possess the EQ, but to some extent there is difference between other animal and you, the individual. Then the next one, you have to possess the SQ, spiritual quotient. Spiritual quotient, the quality which are known as the human qualities, the love, the compassion, the empathy, the care for other. Okay, all these are. When you can start thinking that giving is better than getting, sacrifice is better than your possession. When you can do with you as you actually do with other person the same way, there is no difference between I and you, difference between we and they. If you can make it, if you can do it, then you have the position of your SQ, spiritual quotient, and you can have the sustainable happiness. You will get then the basic purpose of your existence. So this humanity, actually we gather, we acquire by way of an evolution over a period of time, evolution. But suddenly this COVID-19, you looked to the different instances today, you just develop some symptoms, the symptoms that are to some extent or mostly similar to COVID-19. Your neighbors will come and block. You have to vacate this room, you must not stay here, you must go elsewhere, because we may be affected by this. We may also be infected. This is fact. This COVID-19 is contagious, highly contagious. So they are undone. They have also some argument because as they have come here. But the fact is this is inhuman. That means we are losing our humanity. We are doing it. We are doing it. Migrant workers, our previous speakers talked about them, migrant workers. What volume of pain they actually suffer while coming back from their workplace to their native village or the home. You know, you all know, some of the people, they die on the way. They have died on the way. But when they come to their village, come to their home, forget about their own home. They are not allowed to enter into their village. They are not allowed. They are taking their actually shelter beneath one tree or in one abandoned hut, cottage at the very remote corner of the village. Okay. Forget about this general persons. The people who are considered as the coronavirus warrior, the doctors, the nurse, the police forces, the sweeping personnels. Day and night they are working, they are fighting against this COVID-19. And when they come back to their home, landlord is standing there. No longer I will give you this house or this room on rent. You vacate it immediately. You vacate it immediately. This inhumanity, inhuman activities, the humanity that we acquired over a period of time by the process of the evolution, suddenly, abruptly, we are losing all this due to this COVID-19. Just very mild, very simple, very little instances. In front of the grocery shop, when you are in the queue of the ration shop, okay, some are buying more, you are jealous. This has been termed as the hostile neighbors. You are also not working judiciously. Why will buy more? You have the money, you are buying more. This is known as panic buying. You are doing it. So your work is not the responsible work, it is fact. So you are also not doing well or with humanity, and they also who are jealous about it, why you are buying this. If you have some travel history, recent travel history, your neighbors will be hostile to you. They will not allow to enter into your home. They will not allow to do this. So all these things, I think, along with the economic problems, the economy is actually the CRISIL, our Professor Arindam Gupta just mentioned. The CRISIL, ICRA, all are giving different your figures as to what kind of economic recession. Some economists, their opinion, no, this is not just the recession. This one disaster, this one catastrophe, economic catastrophe. It is fact. But I think more dangerous than that, the economy can be restored within 1 year, within 2 years. But the dent that is being created by this kind of psychological setback, damage in the social fabric, the attack on the humanity, I think easily this cannot be held up. And if this cannot be done, then economy, you have got back supports. But still the world, still your country will not be a good place to live in. So this, I think, a very serious impact, social or socio-economic, in whatever terms you mention, is the impact of this COVID-19. But still, actually hope for the best. A number of instances still are there. One district magistrate in our district, Hooghly, some inspectors in different places, get the examples that they actually are doing the work. They are fighting against COVID-19 at the risk of their own lives. They are doing it in a number of NGOs. They are also working. And I think that good sense will prevail. And as our previous speaker hoped for, again, the same thing I will mention, that the hope is the only driver of our life, that very soon everything, actually it's all this pandemic situation, all these fear psychoses will be able to come out here from. And with this hope and thanking you all again for your patient hearing, I conclude. Again, I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for your extremely useful, illuminating speech. I think all of us have been enriched by the informative and thought-provoking speech delivered by Professor Dipti Kumar Chakravorty. Thank you once again, sir. Now it's time for question and answer session. Now I would request Professor Prof. Banerjee, who is the head of the Department of Commerce Service Evening College and also convener of this webinar, to conduct this question and answer session. Professor Banerjee, please.
Good afternoon to all of you. Hello. Good afternoon to all of you. We have already got very few questions. One question is there from Nilotpal Mukherjee. What is the secondary effect of COVID death? People are died day by day in non-COVID disease due to non-mobility from local hospital to specialized one. What is your opinion, sir?
To whom? To whom? The question is.
Sir, DKC sir. DKC sir. DKC sir, please.
Actually, we are not the doctors, we are not the physicians. Actually, this is fact. This is fact that if in this way we are admitted in this kind of hospitals, there is the chance, there is the possibility that we will be infected, will be affected by it. This is fact. This is fact. Then, hello.
Hello, yes. Hello to Arindam Gupta sir. Hello.
Yes, tell me.
Sir, what is the impact of disinvestment policy of Indian economy? Is it good to sell its share to the private companies?
This is not related to the presentation.
It is not related to presentation still.
So
we conclude this question answer session because there are no more questions are there. So we move on to the vote of thanks. Sir, it seems to be a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making today's webinar in a very resounding success. At the outset, on the behalf of the RBC Evening College, I express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Joydev Sarkar, who has really enlightened us with his knowledge and presence. I shall be remaining thankful to Professor Arup Ratan Mitra, our GB President, who is continuous source of inspiration. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our Principal Sir, Dr. Devashish Bhomik, for his enthusiastic support. I would like to thank and express our deepest gratitude to distinguished speakers, Professor Arindam Gupta and Professor Dipti Kumar Chakravorty, for making an excellent presentation and sharing of knowledge and making this webinar a great success. It is needless to mention that we all are inspired, enlightened and enriched today. I would also like to thank our beloved departmental colleagues for their moral support, without which it is impossible for us to conduct the webinar. I thank them for their minute-to-minute support and guidance for encouraging at every point of time in organizing the webinar. I cannot thank each one enough for their involvement they have shown and the willingness they have expressed to take on the completion of the work beyond their comfort zone. Then I would again my thanks to the organizing committee, technical committee, teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. I would like to thank all the respected participants who have blessed us with their presence. It is really a memorable day in the history of our college. Today we have hosted the webinar where more than 200 participants through Google Meet and YouTube have participated from different colleges and universities from different parts of India. Once again, I thank all of you for your cordial cooperation. With these warm words and kind message, we move to the end of the today's webinar. Thank you all.